Today we're taking a look at the new 2023 Phase 4 33 by Mathews Archery. Just a reminder guys, head on over to mikesarchery.com to pick up any of our latest logo gear. We got plenty of hats and shirts as well as any gear you might need for your next adventure. Welcome back to Mike's Archery's YouTube, and today we are taking a look at the brand new lineup from Mathews for 2023, and we have got the new Phase 4 in the 33-inch model. So this bow is a complete redesign of the limb system, taking more vibration out of it and a new bridge lock item, but we'll look at that here in just a minute. As always, Mathews is made here in the USA, right up there in Wisconsin, and the specs on the new 33 are coming in at 336 feet per second, axle to axle, obviously 33 inches. The overall cam to cam length is at 38.5, so a nice long bow for you bigger guys. Brace height on this bow at 6.5 inches, gives plenty of forgiveness on this platform. The reflex measurement on the 33 is 4 5/8. So the advertised factory weight on the 33 is coming in at 4.68 pounds. And we pulled it out of the box and threw it on the scale, and it bumped right at 4.8 pounds. So coming in a little heavier than advertised, and when we stripped it down, we got it down to 4.6. So it's really coming in, when you pull those dampeners and things off of it, right at what Mathews is advertising, if not just a little bit under. So with the 33, they are matching spec weight quite well. Now with no change in the cam system that they've had in the past, the 33 is going to have a draw length option from 27 out to 31.5 inches. So if you are needing that longer draw length, you're going to be able to bump this bow out and get 31.5 inches out of it. And if you are a shorter draw length, you're really not going to be able to step into a 33 because it stops at 27 on the bottom end. Now the draw weight options on this bow come to you at 60, 65, 70, and 75, and then because of the switch weight system, you can swap out and change that from 80 or 85% with every draw length. So let's take a look at some of the new features that Mathews has built into this bow. And just taking a first look at it, a first glance at it, it looks extremely similar to last year's 33. And that's because the riser is pretty much identical except for the new bridge lock system for the stabilizer. But from there, the limbs are very different. Now, if you just looked at them, there's a black line down the center. There was a black line down the center on your 33 last year. And the biggest difference is that's not a line anymore. It's actually a piece of rubber that is sandwiched in between two sets of limbs. So the Phase 4, you've got 4 limbs on the top, 4 limbs on the bottom for a total of 8 limbs. So that split limb platform has been there for years, and they have split those limbs in half again, giving you 4 on the top, 4 on the bottom, with a piece of rubber dampening sandwiched in between those 2 limbs. They're calling it the RPD, or resistance phase dampening system, and they are stopping the vibration and the noise at the source of your bow, which is those limbs that are moving and transferring energy to your arrow. So that's what the big change is for this bow, and it is noticeable. We'll talk more about that when we get back to shooting it, but it looks the same, but it does not feel or sound the same. Now the other big change for this year was the bridge lock stabilizer system. So in the past, you would have screwed your stabilizer, and that's still there, onto the front of the bow. But now with the bridge lock stabilizer system, you're able to slide that stabilizer in and out of the riser just like you do their bridge lock sight system. You're able to adjust that stabilizer every ½ inch, as well as their weight system that's built into it, their interlink weight system. You're going to be able to change out the weights on the front and then move that stabilizer, whether you choose an 8, a 10, or a 12-inch stabilizer. You can then adjust the length from the riser every ½ inch, which is going to allow you to adjust the weight and the feel of the bow incrementally as you move that stabilizer in and out. They also created a new bridge lock back bar, so it's going to mount directly to the back of the riser and then gives you that bridge lock system to be able to move that weight on a sidebar stabilizer in and out. And then it also has all the adjustments to pivot it to get the perfect balance on your bow for whatever other accessories you have mounted. Now from there, the bow is pretty much the same as what we saw last year out of the V3X. You still have the integrated bridge lock sight system, so you can slide that sight directly into the riser. You've still got your integrated rest system. If you want to use the dovetail on the back of the riser and mount that Mathews or several other options that have now popped up on the market, you're going to be able to use that integrated rest system and bolt that directly onto the back of the riser. Their low pro quiver system still works with this new bow, allowing you to get the tightest quiver you possibly can on this bow. And then they didn't change the cams at all, so you've still got a concentric switch weight mod system there, allowing you to change your draw length, your poundage, as well as your let off with the change out of those mods, which is pretty nice for us dealers because we only stock one bow, and then you can get your weight, your draw length, and your let off all in a mod swapping system that allows you to get exactly what you need without changing out cams or some other system where you're using a sliding module. They also kept with their Engage grip that they've had for the last several years. It's a nice feeling grip. It's rubber coated. It's going to feel good in your hand. It's going to keep you from having a cold hand against the bare metal when it gets cold during the later part of the year. And overall, that grip has worked well for Mathews over the last several years. They've kept with their angled roller guard, which just takes the torque off of the cables and allows a nice smooth draw cycle as you pull back. No chattering and no sliding on a cable slide. The new cam system still also works with the stay afield system, which is a pretty nice system. If you're in an emergency situation, you got a backup set of strings and cables, you're going to be able to use that stay afield system to break this bow down, change out your string or cables, whatever needs to be worked on without a press in the field. They obviously kept with their harmonic dampener system, which is on the lower part of the riser out there toward the front of the lower limb pocket, which just takes more vibration out of this bow. You can also still use their silent connect system, so you can mount that to the top and bottom limb, allowing you to get in and out of your tree stand and pull this bow up quickly and silently without tying knots and without fighting with the bow, getting it up and down out of the tree. Now, we refer to Mathews here as the Apple of the archery industry because they really lock you into their system. And if you want to go with that complete integrated bridge lock system on their bow, then by all means, that's where you need to be to get the best performance out of a Mathews bow. But if for some reason you don't want to, they've kept all your standard mounting still on this bow. If you want to mount a standard rest, the rest hole is there to mount any standard rest on the market that you could have used in the past. If you want to stay with your sight that you really like, there's still standard mounting there for your sight, so you can mount that up in any situation and whatever sight configuration that you might need. You can also still use a standard stabilizer and a standard back bar. Those holes are still there, still threaded for you to mount whatever stabilizer system you have been running over the last several years to get a perfect weight and balance on your bow. Those are still going to mount up. But if you want the best performance and the best working capabilities out of this Mathews platform, you're probably going to want to go with their complete bridge lock integrated system. Now, Mathews didn't offer any new colors this year on the 33 or the 29. They kept with the same colors they had last year. So you can still pick up the new Phase 4 in a black, their granite, or the green ambush for your solid colors. And if you want a camo bow, then you've got a few more options. You've got Realtree Edge, as well as First Light Spectre. You've got Elevated 2 and Subalpine, as well as an Under Armour all-season camo. So a lot of great options there to get a bow that's customized and looks great for your situation. Now, the mat price retail on the new 33 is going to be $12.99. So just a little bit of a price increase from last year, I think about 50 bucks. So not a huge increase that we've seen with a lot of the inflation and things that have taken place this year. The 33 is only coming in at $12.99 retail. From here, we're going to step back to the lane, take a few shots out of this bow, and give you a breakdown of how this bow shoots as far as the speeds, using a 350 all the way out to a 500 grain arrow. Also giving you a noise rating on this bow and just an overall feel of how it shoots. As usual, we'll be shooting this bow on 29-inch draw length with 70 pounds and shooting it on 85% let off. So we step back here to the lane and we've got the new Phase 4 33 from Mathews for this year. And we're going to put this thing through its paces and take a few shots out of it. Give you a breakdown, as always, shooting it on 70 pounds with a 29-inch draw length and 85% let off. And we're going to give you a breakdown from 350 grains all the way up to a 500 grain arrow on this, starting with our 400 grain arrow. Now, we did shoot this bow both ways. Just so you know, we always shoot them stripped down to get our noise rating as well as our speed ratings, just to see what it feels and sounds like, to keep everything consistent across the board with everybody. But then we've shot them with the stabilizer systems on them too, and it does make a difference. And not that you didn't already know that adding a stabilizer to your bow helps, but it's definitely helps on the new Mathews as well with that new bridge lock system. So let's take a few shots out of this bow and give you a breakdown of where it's at. All right, so the new 33 with a 400 grain arrow is coming in at 301 feet per second. Now, if you went over and watched the 29, they actually are supposed to be about 4 feet a second slower with the 33. All of our testing shows it tracking pretty much within a foot or two of the 29. So if you're that guy that needs that longer draw, needs that longer axle to axle for a little more stability. One of you guys out west liking that longer axle to axle. I personally like a longer axle to axle. This bow's really not losing any speed. Not that 4 feet a second was much to begin with on the specs from Mathews, but we're just not seeing it actually track any different. So with a 350 grain arrow out of this 33, we got 320 feet per second, which was the same as the 29 if you watch that video. Now at 400 grains, again, it was 301 feet per second, only a foot different. And at 450 grains, this bow was 281. So still tracking within a foot of what the 29 did. And then at 500 grains, it was actually a foot a second faster at 269. Those are negligible numbers. We'll call them pretty much the same, that this bow is shooting almost identical speeds to what the 29 is. And you don't typically see that out of a longer axle-to-axle bow. Typically you lose a little bit just because of the length of the bow. That's not the case with the 33. So if you're worried about a few feet per second, which you shouldn't be, you're not going to lose anything with this new bow. The grip on this bow is the same engaged grip that they've had for the last several years. If you've liked Mathews' grip in the past, then you're going to enjoy this grip just the same. It's a nice rubberized grip, gives a good feel in the hand. Personally, not my favorite grip, but by all means, that's superficial and an opinionated thing. So if you've liked Mathews' grip, then you're going to enjoy this new 33 just as much. The draw cycle, the cams didn't change. The risers are pretty much the same. So the draw cycle on this 33 is the same as last year. Still got a great smooth draw cycle, got a great feel to it. Comes over nice, you know, smooth into the backdrop of it. Overall, exactly the same as last year. So if you enjoyed that draw cycle last year, and Mathews has traditionally had a great feel, it's the same. So you're not losing anything there. Now that's where things change. With the aftershot, when you let this bow go, this new Phase 4 system where they've split these limbs and put this rubber dampening system in between those limbs is definitely doing what they're advertising. Now there's always a lot of advertising hype out there, but this bow is noticeably quieter and noticeably deader in the hand than last year's model. It's something that if you get a chance to go shoot one, you're going to notice it right off the bat. Mathews has traditionally been the quietest bow over the years, and it's no different this year. And let me grab that decibel meter so I can tell you where that's at. So the 33 is coming in at 92.9 decibels. So Mathews has always traditionally been one of the quietest bows we shoot every year. They have done it again, and in no better way to say it, they've actually lowered the bar. So they have made this bow even quieter than it has been in the past, which is a pretty amazing feat because they were always really quiet anyways. So if you're taking a look at a new Mathews, just know that this new Phase 4 system is doing what they say it does. It is certainly quieter, and when this bow goes off, it is noticeably deader in the hand. Now we did notice as we shot it without the stabilizer system on there, it had a little bit more noise, and we tested it without the stabilizer system on there. So it had a little bit of more of a ping to it when it went off. But when you put the whole bridge lock system on there of the new stabilizer system, this bow is deader than anything out there and anything they have made in the past. So with that new stabilizer system on there, not that you didn't already know that a stabilizer helped you in shooting, keeping things stable and taking vibration out of the bow, this certainly still does that. And it makes for an amazing feel after the shot with this bow. So if you like that dead in the hand feel that Mathews has had in the past, it's even better on the new Phase 4 system. So if the new Mathews is something that you're wanting to take a look at, you're wanting to upgrade from last year's V3X, then just be aware that it may look the same, but it does not sound nor feel the same. And if you're looking to get into one of these, be sure and give us a call here at Mike's Archery, and we'll be glad to put a new Phase 4 in your hands for this year.